Hey there, everybody. This video is our reaction to Yellowstone Season 3, Episode 9, where we got a number of questions answered. We saw some pretty brutal and violent stuff take place. We're kind of slowly building towards the finale. Kudos to Yellowstone as well for honoring the great Wilford Brimley with a title card.
That was one of the best title cards. I mean, we see a lot of really great ones that are in loving memory, and I love that they have the title cards. But that little extra at the end about what a good friend he was, It was really nice.
He's such like a Western icon, and I think it was a great move for the show to do, and I think it's a perfect episode, I think, to really sort of represent that legacy too, because this was just full of like cowboy stuff.
Oh my goodness, it was so cowboy.
Yeah, this was it is definitely a quintessential episode for this genre. I still don't know how they're gonna wrap everything up in the finale though. We'll get into what we think. Before we do, if you guys do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and in the event you want to support us more, just check those links below. We have the store where we have t-shirts and a lot of other cool stuff, and then also our Patreon where we are doing live chats at the end of every month.
Okay, let's talk about Colby and Teeter, because that was the big cliffhanger. Were they going to make it? Weren't they going to make it? They did a really good job of making me worried about it, I'm not going to lie.
They made me really worried over the last week or so, and I do appreciate okay, we're not going to make you spend 5 minutes in this episode wondering, are they okay or not okay? We dived immediately into that.
Yeah, and it was really cool that they kept very much in their characters. We had Colby, find her, put the blanket, have this, what felt like a romantic moment, a kiss, and then Teeter is Teeter. It's something that just changes everything because that's the way that she is. I loved that it didn't take away sort of who she is. She still is who she is.
And that's why, isn't that why Colby
I
likes
love
her?
That's why I like her.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't change that character. That, yeah, Yellowstone, it is a show with a lot of romance to it, but it doesn't really sort of conform any of its characters into like the classic romantic archetype. She's no damsel in distress. He's not like, the everyday hero. They mix things up in an interesting way.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when they first were sort of having that moment and then that kiss, and it's all sort of this horrible thing has happened, which is bring them together. So it was cool to have her then say something that was so Teeter to say.
Yeah, this episode really is. It is all about Teeter doing Teeter things. Like, even Teeter getting the brand at the end of it, it was like, okay, she's clearly has bonded with these people like never before. They saved her from everything that went down. She took part in the revenge mission at the end of the episode.
Oh man, that whole thing with Wade and what was going on and learning that he's really working with the other side to sort of push them into doing something really super illegal, which is what has happened. I mean, obviously they have been able to hide what they're doing, but the whole idea was that Wade was trying to push them into doing something that the other side was going to be able to use against them so that they can take the land. But man, did it go badly for Wade. It is so bad. He is dead. They cut his brand off. It was crazy. That scene was really intense.
It was intense. It was kind of gross. We got a chance.
Kind of gross. So gross.
We revisited the train station, or the train station.
Yeah, we saw the bodies go over. And there was a minute that I actually thought that, the whole thing with Walker, we're going to get into that, but Walker was there to take these bodies to the train station. There was a minute I thought Lloyd was then going to kick him off the cliff as well.
Yeah, I did think there was a potential for punting going on here, and it would have been the end of Walker as we know it. I still don't really know what to make of that character long term, because he did still sort of defy everything that was put out there for him to do, and I know he's got his reasons because of parole and everything else. He couldn't run, but I don't know exactly how safe I would ever feel if I am Walker ever again.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the whole situation is kind of interesting because, yeah, he didn't leave the state like Casey told him to. He wasn't able to. He's on parole. He's not trying to go back to jail. This guy clearly just seems to want to be sad and make music. That's what he wants to do. And, I mean, if he had told somebody, then obviously people would have come to get them by now. I understand what Rip is saying, where he's like, oh, well, if he's up against the wall and they're pressuring him to give something, then he could give up the ranch. But I mean, I think at this point, he's not looking to get caught again. That's why he's not with the ranch. That's why he's singing sad songs in a bar. He didn't fit in with that anymore. He's over that lifestyle. So I don't know that Walker was really going to get in any kind of trouble, that he was ever going to have to rat the ranch out anyways. I honestly think he was just done.
I kind of like how Yellowstone did sort of frame a lot of this, because my expectation coming into this episode was, okay, we're going to have a real Rip versus Casey thing, and it's going to lead to all this tension, and then there's going to be problems at the wedding with Beth down the road. And yeah, there was tension, but they sort of painted it in a more interesting sort of way, where it's just kind of about a difference in ideology, because Rip seems to live very much in a world of black and white. These are the rules. You must follow these rules. And Casey, my favorite line in the episode is that he said that I've killed a lot of people, but I've never murdered anyone.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's pretty true for him, right? So it makes sense that they are in these different spots, even though they're both sons of John, because Rip is a son of John. There's no
Clearly
getting around it, right? But they are very different in the way that they think about those things. So it was a cool way then that Casey tried to find a solution that works with Rip, works with himself, works with Walker, of how the only way that Walker can still be walking around, breathing, and dealing with this, if he comes back into the fold. And you could just see it all over Walker's face, and he's just like, oh man, I can't escape this place.
Yeah, not only that, they make him be directly involved in the cutting, so he is now complicit in all of it, and it is... Walker's got more sad songs to sing now. Like, that's the real message of this.
And it was a very interesting line that came from Walker for me when he was about to do this, where he was kind of like, these guys are really bad guys, so I can't imagine what you are at this point, that you've gotten yourself to this point.
It is such a precarious, weird situation that we have seen this guy come into, but I gotta be honest, I loved a lot of it. I really, even the stuff with all the cowboy scenes in this episode, a lot of it is sort of so prototypical to this genre, and I could say, oh, okay, here we go, classic horse chase scene, but it was done so well.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm actually hoping that they're either going to find a space for or wrap up is the barrel racer girls, because there was not really a reason for them to be there, except that one of them is now interested in Walker, who has been with Lloyd. I mean, they need something else to do if they want to keep them in there, because I'm just not that interested in them anymore.
It felt fun, I think, at first for like an episode or two. It was like, oh, Jimmy's got a love interest. This is exciting. This is sort of different. And then it's like, oh, it's these barrel racers, and I feel like that's where we've been now for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and even when she said, oh, this place has kind of lost its luster, I'm like, yeah, this story has kind of lost its luster for me. They need to sort of figure out what to do with them.
And I don't know if they're going to have time to figure that out either, and that is the microcosm of sort of everything right now with this season, because if we're looking at Rourke here, what are we doing with Rourke? How are we finishing the story in an episode?
I am so disappointed on how little Rourke we've had, that they have this huge name.
Yeah.
The storyline has been so thinly threaded throughout this season. I said this in the last video, I'll say it again. I really wish this season had just dropped that whole storyline, even though I love Josh and I was so excited to see him. I just wish that this season was about the ranch and the bunkhouse, and let us get to know those stories and what's going on, because there is so much that's going on with them. Like, let's just dive into that and into that lifestyle and everything that's kind of going on. They could have even kept that Wade stuff, but just made it not be about him being hired on, but make it be about that feud that's been going on for a long time, because that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, and I think that would have perfectly worked, and they could have set up Josh coming in at the end of season 3 and then just made him a more consistent presence. And it's very well possible that Josh Holloway stays and is a part of season 4 and they continue to build with it. But yeah, really his major scene in this episode is him talking about yoga and sort of giving some instructions, and that's it.
Yeah, and I mean, we did have that scene with Beth getting fired, so we know that that is there. I think it is going to end up getting wrapped up in the next episode, because there hasn't been enough build-up for me with this stuff. It just hasn't really been the focus of what is going on this season, that I think they will probably wrap it up.
The irony in all of this to me is they have that dinner scene where it's kind of clear there's a lot of stuff that John doesn't want to talk about, and I kind of feel like that's what Yellowstone is doing. It's like they have all this stuff with Rourke, and it's like, oh, we don't really want to talk about that, so here, let's watch a cowboy chase scene, and let's watch a Walker rip off a branding, and then let's visit the train station and call it a day.
And then we had all the stuff with Jamie, who went to go find his dad, which was interesting, and sort of the explanation that his dad gave of why he killed Jamie's mom and what all happened, and that they were both really heavily into drugs and no one was thinking clearly, and the things that the mother did and the things that the father did. The thing that I found the most interesting was that the father had this self-awareness where he was just like, listen, everything that I touch, that I love, ends up going sideways. So, you know, I know everything bad that happened is bad, but it led to you going to be with John and in the position you're in now, and that would have never happened if you were with me, so bye.
It was, I gotta say, for a guy who did not know that his biological son was coming to see him out of nowhere, I thought he was surprisingly kind of composed, almost as though he had sort of planned out in his head for years what he would ever say in the event that his kid showed up.
He probably did.
And I think that came across in this scene, like it was fairly put together. I'm not shocked by some of what he said, because I kind of felt like, okay, if this guy is out there and his son is in a better place, and if everything he touches does turn to ruin, it probably would be something that he would say to him. But
he is, all these years later, alone. Like, you could see, you know, his place is kind of falling apart a little bit. You can tell he's just there by himself. Nothing is, you know, he doesn't have anything around him. He has isolated himself. So he's living the lifestyle he has told Jamie that he's basically put on himself, because everything he touches goes to crap.
Here's the question that I'm wondering, though, is that why bring him in now? Like, what is the purpose of this storyline? Because Jamie has now seen him. They've had an interaction, but is this just sort of it? Like, is there something more that's going to come from this?
I really hope there is something more that's going to come from this, because Jamie is like his dad, where everything he touches goes to crap. And everyone he loves, he ends up hurting in some really significant way. So and he wasn't raised by this man. So is this something then that is just genetic, where everything he touches gets destroyed? And having that coffee and that conversation might be the beginning of sort of Jamie understanding himself better, so that maybe he can find a way to stop it, so he doesn't end up like his dad, alone in a falling down house, pushing everybody away. He has a different opportunity, like his dad said. You know, he is with the Duttons. He doesn't have to keep doing this.
This is the biggest problem with Yellowstone overall, and I think everything you said there is perfectly accurate. We just need 13 episodes a season, because this show moves at so slow a pace that it is sort of like, All right, we're telling the... Okay, I'm not going to keep doing that, but it feels like we move at that spot, and then in the finale, it has to basically be like, and blah, 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 and then we're at the end of the season.
Yeah, the pacing for this season has been a little bit off. It is still a very good season.
Yeah, it is.
It's, like I said, yeah, the pacing's been a little bit off. I would have liked a little more with this Jamie adoption thing. I'm hoping they'll continue it on next season. It's a huge reveal for him, and it is something that's gonna grow this character one way or another. Either he's gonna figure out why he's like this and continue to be like this, or he's gonna find a way to stop being like this.
Well, let's get your thoughts on all of this. What did you think about Yellowstone Season 3, Episode 9 overall? What moments stand out to you? Let us know in the comments. And if you do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, support us further. Check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we will see you here next time.